So Bhakti Raghava Swami has posed 5 points for discussion, and in so doing, we can explore the relevance of our Vaishnav communities in the current affairs of the world. So, the first point that Maharaj brings forward is this. He's framed it in this way. What efforts has your community made in the last 2 years to bring our community closer to self-sufficiency and sustainability? So, self-sufficiency and sustainability. They're similar but different. So I live in Sharanagati Eco Village. I have lived here and been involved since the beginning, some 40 years ago. Sharanagati Eco Village is located in a somewhat remote valley in the mountains of southern British Columbia. It's about 4-hour drive from the big city of Vancouver. So much of what I have to say today, over the next few minutes, is draws from my personal experience living here those years. Self-sufficiency and self-sufficiency and sustainability has many elements that need to be considered, but it all starts with food security. And a close second is, and closely related, is energy security. In Sharanagati, aside from most families having big and good gardens, and by the way, there's about over 30 families living here in this eco village. Certainly, the global systems are highly centralized and controlled by foreign actors, leaving communities vulnerable in the political and economic whims of these foreign actors. So, local communities all over the world are really suffering due to this globalization. And these foreign actors and foreign agendas are insensitive to the needs of common people in the communities that they're living in. So, eco-village philosophy and values are just the opposite to this globalization that's taking place with multinational corporations and their systems which prioritize profit over all other values. So issues of food and energy security are best addressed by local people in their local communities. This is a foundational principle for happy and healthy communities. And unfortunately, this principle is at odds with the current prevailing narratives pushed by the mainstream media and education system and all the other systems that are bombarding us in this modern age. So Sharanagati Eco Village is very much a work in progress. Self-sufficiency does not suddenly happen with the flip of a switch. Appropriate infrastructure needs to be built. New skill sets need to be learned, and perhaps most importantly, the correct mindset needs to be cultivated. And all this takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. It may even take a generation or more. So in the case of Sharanagati Eco Village, progress has been slow but steady. And there are as I've explained, there are over 30 homes with big gardens, and most have excellent off-grid power systems with solar panels or hydroelectricity generated from the streams that are coming off the mountain and into the valley. And in some cases, we have a combination of hydroelectricity combined with solar energy to generate our electrical needs. So 2 years ago, we purchased another 160 acres at the north end of the valley, and this in turn secures the water from the main stream flowing into the valley from the mountains. And as you understand, this is sustainability is not possible without water, sufficient water. Without water, there's no life. So this past year, aside from expanding home gardens, we have also been developing a 5-acre community garden. And in this community garden this past year, we initiated 2 community projects. Last growing season, we started a bean project, in which we grew out many experimental plots and of different varieties of beans. There are thousands of varieties of beans, and many of them grow really well in Sharanagati, in our climate. And of course, beans are a staple in a vegan's diet, and the people living in Sharanagati Eco Village are all vegans and vegetarians. And the other project on our community garden was the potato project, in which we grew out about 7 different varieties of potatoes, all for the purpose of being 100% self-sufficient in supplying all our beans and all our potatoes for an entire year for the community. So another important feature of these initiatives is the involvement and participation of our children. Our Eco Village School includes active participation in agriculture by our children. Hands-on agriculture is incorporated into the students' curriculum. So Bhakti Raghava Maharaj has posed another question for us to comment on. This is the question: what lessons can be gleaned from the COVID-19 phenomena, and how has it impacted individuals and, for that matter, entire nations, the entire world, for that matter? So much could be unpacked from this question. Certainly there has been a profound impact by COVID over the past year, and I see it continuing for quite some time to come. So without going into a lot of detail, we can say that COVID has been weaponized as a powerful tool for facilitating the Great Reset. People should become familiar with this term, the Great Reset, because it captures the major changes that globalists have in store for the immediate implementation on a global scale. COVID underscores and highlights the importance of high self-sufficiency at a local community level. It is becoming painfully obvious that centralized globalist solutions to the big issues in the world today are simply not working. Rather, they undermine and weaken local communities. So although the forces of globalism are very prominent currently, many people, nevertheless, many people are now waking up and questioning globalist policies. Policies that prioritize localization are key, as opposed to the globalist agenda, which leads to the next question. Next question has been framed like this: can Vedic sociology make a contribution in addressing the issues of the 21st century? And the short answer, of course, is yes, most certainly. Many acknowledge that the institutions in the world today are not serving the needs of people in general. The political, religious, social, educational, economic, and financial institutions operating today have been usurped by bad actors who have used these institutions for personal gain. The institutions in the world today are meant, whether it's government or private, those institutions have been created and are meant to serve the needs of people, not to be used to exploit people. So Vedic sociology, also known as Varnashram Dharma, does indeed offer positive alternatives to this failing globalist culture. New institutions that prioritize localization and the needs of people in those communities are required. Varnashram Dharma draws on ancient knowledge preserved in the Sanskrit texts. These texts describe in detail a culture, a natural culture and natural systems and divisions of society in society that are relevant even in this modern 21st century environment. So eco-villages such as Sharanagati eco-village are designed to implement these ancient and natural and simple systems and solutions. Now moving on to another question. Are there practical suggestions for navigating the complexities of contemporary society? So, practical suggestions. Well, let's start with getting informed. First suggestion is information. Get informed. Information is key. Educate yourself. Seek out people and information sources that you can trust. Learn how to look behind the mask of fake news, false narratives, and mainstream media. Learn more about Vedic sociology and Varnashram Dharma. Understanding current affairs from a Vedic perspective will give you unique and profound insights and inspiration to implement Vedic values into your own life, family, and community. And some further practical suggestions. Well, grow your own food. Start small. Grow food on your balcony, on your rooftop, in your backyard, on your front lawn. It really is amazing how much food you can grow in a very small space. And it really isn't difficult. It's actually enjoyable. Just start somewhere. Start small and gradually each growing season expand. Perhaps you will have to consider moving to a less crowded space, where there's more fresh air and space. Especially plan to move out of the big cities that are increasingly becoming unlivable hellholes. This is a trend already happening in America. Over the past year alone, there has been a mass exodus from the big cities like New York. In the past year, less than a year since COVID started, since the lockdown started, over 400,000 people have packed their bags and their families and left their homes, abandoned their homes, and moved away from the city of New York, never planning to return. And the same phenomenon is happening in other cities throughout America, Chicago, Los Angeles, California. Millions of people are literally leaving the state. So communicate with like-minded people, in your community and on the internet. And here's perhaps my most important suggestion. Work with children. We desperately need a generation of children who have the experience and training and love to carry on and carry out righting the ship as we older guys fade into the sunset. And one more suggestion. Simplify. We advocate the slogan, simple living and high thinking, as the formula for achieving happiness and fulfillment in this life. So let's move on to the final question that we want to comment on. Bhakti Raghava Maharaj has framed the final topic in this way. How can we best address and combat the global problems of climate change, desertification, loss of natural habitat, loss of biodiversity, and the extinction of species? Whoa, these are big, big problems. Problems that have reached crisis levels. Problems that the world leaders and institutions seem completely incapable of addressing. So how can eco-villages and their community members play a role in bringing about solutions? Books have been written, and more books will be written. But more than just writing books must be done. Of course, books are needed. Awareness is the first step. People need to be informed and educated, and individuals need to be open-minded enough to explore and consider new ideas, because business as usual is clearly not working. The mainstream narratives being propagated by media are having the opposite effect of dumbing down and suppressing the truth. Good information is the first step before good action can take place. So, first, good information, then action. And the slogan, think globally and act locally, comes into play. So, in final few comments, in the daily lives of our families and communities, real steps can be taken. Soil fertility, composting, growing your own food, energy conservation, initiatives that can occur at the local level and make a real difference. Support local initiatives that improve local autonomy and local economy and local resilience. Support local initiatives that address the health of the environment and the health of your community. There is a direct connection between your personal health and happiness and the health of the environment. So solutions to these big problems can begin at home and in your local communities. We also need leaders. Next point, we also need leaders. You personally, everybody should become a leader on some level. And we should also support other leaders who embrace and promote the same values. And finally, we need practical examples. Models that demonstrate a better way of doing things. We need to practice what we preach. Action speaks louder than words. We need grassroots solutions that are in harmony with Mother Nature and thus sustainable over time.